afternoon, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
I'm going to adjust all my things because I have some things to say. Welcome to our reaction review discussion of Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. Now, this is on Netflix. It's been out for about a day at this point in time. We are going to have some spoiler conversation. So if you have not seen it yet, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, come back later after you've seen it, and sit down with us while I try my best to keep it even keel over the next 10 minutes or so. Your initial thoughts?
I liked it.
I liked it a lot.
I mean, we like Zack Snyder when the studio isn't
putting their dick in it.
Right. So, yeah, I liked it.
I think this boils down to either you like Zack Snyder's style or you don't. I think is what this movie comes down to.
Right.
Now, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Rotten Tomatoes right now has 23% from critics and 42% from fans, or 72% from fans.
I was going to say, what fans
72%. Yeah. It was actually higher than that earlier. I saw it at 85%.
For fans,
which means they got review bombed, and that's 104 critics and over 1,000 fans. We do not believe in Rotten Tomatoes around here.
No.
I am done with critics and their critiques of things like this.
Stop telling me what I can like and not like.
Exactly. Everybody that I have seen in my friend group on the social medias has said this is amazing, and I have to agree.
Yeah. I'm glad they made it 2 parts because it allows him to tell the big story and the big spectacle that he likes to do.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we like Zack Snyder so much is that when allowed, he can take his time and do character building and world building and do all of that he needs to do, because this is a world that didn't exist until this came out. So we don't have any backstory. Now we know the backstory that this was a spec script that he wrote for Lucasfilm to do a Star Wars movie with this idea of a individual rebel planet against the Empire.
Okay.
That was the basis idea of what that script was. But it's Zack Snyder, so he's gonna want to stylize it and add some extra stuff to it. And Lucasfilm was like, "Thanks, but no,
this isn't. Yeah, where
this
we're
isn't
going,
us," and that's fine.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with Lucasfilm saying that, and I'm okay with Zack Snyder saying, "Cool, thanks for the opportunity. I'm going to go over here to Netflix and make it."
Yeah.
But I see the influences from Dune, from Star Wars, from Battlestar, from
D&D.
D&D.
Because I pointed out that the whole group before the traitor happened was like a total D&D campaign. You had the thief and the grizzled old fighter, and the witch and the barbarian, and then the younger fighter, and
the slow-mo style, we talked about this while we were watching it. The slow-mo style that Zack Snyder likes to use, I think, works specifically in sci-fi the best.
Yeah.
Because there's so much detail that went into the simple things of Cora's gun.
Yeah.
And all the detail that showed that she was a member of the Royal Guard. Spending time in a slow motion watching that action happen, where you can see all that kind of detail, is something that I like.
Yeah.
Again, it mileage may vary if you don't like Zack Snyder.
Yeah. Well, and I just appreciate it because generally in those big fighting scenes, where you've got multiple people and things going on, you're like, you get lost. You cool, that person fell, or and this person sliding across the ground and shooting, so yay, I think the good guys are winning, but it allows, it slows it down so you can actually see all the choreography that's going into and the fight all because we know that the actors have spent hours and months training to do
Yeah,
these fight scenes, and then
yeah.
they go by so quickly that you don't really get to appreciate the
I'm not
work
going to
that they've
spoil
done.
something else that came out this weekend, but the big final fight is so cut together so quickly that you
Yeah,
miss a lot of what you're talking about.
yeah,
That Corey, they spent so much time, two actors who can actually do this stuff,
yeah,
and they sped up the editing so it kind of is all blurry. Now, some of that's to take away the CGI,
yeah,
whatever. But when Zach decides to do a lot of stuff practically, he can slow it down to 4 frames a second or
yeah.
whatever, and we can see the emotion in the person's face as the scene is going on.
Yep. It reminds me very much of George Miller, just just the aesthetic
Frank
and
Miller? No,
or
you're
Frank.
George Miller. You're right. I'll shut up.
Oh, okay.
You're right.
The aesthetic and the um, not that he necessarily slows stuff down, but you can follow his
Yeah, yeah,
action scenes
yeah,
better.
yeah.
And like I said, just the aesthetic, it reminded me.
It's that. Ultimately, this movie is a assembling of the Magnificent Seven.
Right.
We have the mother world, the mother planet that is essentially the Empire, essentially the Third Reich,
Yeah, I was gonna say Germany. Nazi
German
Germany.
third, and they won the war, and so they are doing what the Third Reich is doing what the Empire does, because that lesson is still has to be taught in Star Wars, of going around to different planets and taking the resources.
Right.
That's one of my biggest things in Star Wars publishing that they do that I love, is having this conversation of people on the ground being affected by those who are doing the oppressing. And by coming in and taking the resources for their own good and not allowing the people to resow their soil for the next harvest, all they're doing is just burning resources to burn resources and damn the consequences down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eh,
Because they think that they're right and they will always win, and
yes, yes. And the way it's set up here in Rebel Moon, they have decimated anybody who actually fought against them.
right.
There's no fight left in the people. And so even the villagers have a conversation amongst themselves when the dreadnought shows up with the let's just negotiate with them.
Right.
Let's not fight against them.
Right. There's not really any negotiation, as we learn when
Yeah.
they kill the father and the mother. They didn't really introduce her, but
Yeah,
I'm
the father's significant other.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I was pointing out, what is his name?
Keep talking. I'll bring it up.
I was pointing out that he that like basically when we got to the point where they killed Charlie Hunnam's character, that no one in this show is really safe.
This is really safe. Yeah.
They're not afraid to kill off the recognized actors and actresses.
The one thing with IMDb about this is they have decided to do billing order and not appearance order.
Oh, jeez.
And so it's yeah, I can't find it.
He's
but-
in
Ant-Man.
he's in Ant-Man, obviously, and he's in the Batman as the DA.
Corey Stoll.
There we go.
Corey Stoll is the father. With if you would have told me it was Graham McCavish, I would have totally been like, yes, it's Graham with the big bushy beard and the shirt, and just they kind of both built the same way at this point in time. But
Corey's probably a little younger than Graham, but
yeah, a little bit. But the other thing that I appreciated is like what you're talking about was the idea of Zach's not afraid to kill his darlings.
yeah,
And that's one of the things that everybody loved about George Martin, is that in the Game of Thrones books, he's
Yeah.
not afraid to kill his
nobody's
darlings.
safe. Yeah,
Nobody's safe. And it gives everything stakes.
Yeah, and you think, like, when you go see a movie, you're like, okay, these people are going to make it out. Maybe, a little worse for wear, but they're
Right.
99.9% of the time, the big stars are going to make it out.
Yeah.
And when you kill off, like I said, a recognizable face
Yeah.
in the first 5 minutes of the movie, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
That first opening very very much parallels Inglorious Bastards when Christoph Waltz shows up at the French farm and the
Yeah.
girls are hiding underneath, and there's that slow build of, oh no, we're here to be your friends, and sure we'll have a drink with you, and then as it goes along more and more and more,
It starts to get more
and
tense, and
you're
this
like,
isn't
oh,
going to
what's
end
going on?
well.
The building of this army, bringing all these people in to ultimately try to go against the Dreadnought. It is Magnificent Seven with
Yeah.
the idea of putting this team together to fight against one little piece. It's not a little, it's a Dreadnought, but it was one piece of the Mother Empire, the
Yeah.
Mother Earth. And so the idea, the Mother Planet, um, they it's always going to feel like insurmountable odds the entire way.
Yeah.
And when we start to really love the charm of Charlie Hunnam and who he is as the thief, and he backstabs everybody like DJ in The Last Jedi, uh, I was pissed.
Yeah.
I love that Charlie was the bad guy or the bad guy, but I was pissed because I started to like him. They did a really good job of putting us into a position where we like this guy, we trust him,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden he betrays them.
Yeah.
And then once everybody's captured in those rigs, which are just terrifying,
Yeah.
by the way, the spider octopus, we can kill you by just holding you in place.
Yeah, you have
machines.
no way out.
When that whole scene and they start breaking down who actually everybody is within this group, it was ominous, but also amazing that the person who saves them is this simple farmer.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we kept saying he's not just a simple farmer. He's not just a
Yeah,
simple farmer.
they're gonna divulge that he's actually
Yeah, he worked in. He was an actual
like
tra-
like Cora.
like Cora.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he ultimately is
Yeah.
the simple farmer. He is Haley Steinfeld in the new Magnificent Seven with Denzel Washington and Chris Pratt and all of them.
Yeah.
She's the one who goes out.
Haley Steinfeld
Yeah, it's
Is
Haley
that-
Steinfeld.
from Hawkeye?
Uh-huh. I think so.
No.
I think so.
I don't think it is. Yeah, but and once his treacherous ways got um divulged, I went back and I was like, "Wait a minute. Oh,
Oh yeah.
he just, he just popped up in the middle of this bar."
Sorry, it's Haley Bennett.
Haley Bennett.
Haley
Okay.
Bennett. I'm sorry.
Um,
I was close.
Haley, yeah.
Haley's in there.
I was like, "Oh yeah, he just popped up in the middle of this bar." They had no idea who he was. He never divulged who he was. I was like, "Wait a minute, he's part of the group." Well, okay, we don't
Yeah.
know who he is.
Yeah, and they did a shot because they mirrored the shot later on. When they get to the bar, they show them bounty hunter, the connection. The bounty hunters are arresting the guy who actually is the
Right.
contact,
Right.
and then they go after the bar fight and everything happens.
Yeah, you
blah, blah,
think
blah.
that's it.
That's it. Whatever. They go and they get on Charlie's ship. They get there and the bounty hunters are watching them take off.
Yeah.
And it was like at the time I was like, oh, they're gonna follow them. And then later on, I'm like, oh no. When they get to the dock, it's the same alien.
Yep.
Let's talk about some of the alien stuff. When we get to the farm, it's all humans. The hairstyles is something I noticed too. Everybody in the Empire, all the soldiers, everybody has dark hair. Everybody in the village has dirty brown hair, and then the royal family has all blonde hair.
Right.
Kind of give the regalness to them or whatever.
Right.
But all of the aliens look practical.
Yeah. And the robot,
The
I don't
robot with
did they ever say his name?
it's a number.
A
It's
number,
L
a
whatever.
designation or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. I was like, wow. I was like looking to
yeah,
see if you could see kind of the, like a weird outline or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
because the robots are so much thinner than a human being would be, and so they have to kind of
The
go in.
mocap for that was amazing.
Yeah, they got to
Yeah.
go in and kind of CGI out the waist and everything, and
The
it was
the
good.
only CGI like wobble that I had for me was when the one guy was taming the griffin.
Griffin thing, yeah.
And that's just hard. So
Yeah, there was a bit. Yeah,
there's a distortion in the background because your eye is on the
I
foreground.
know exactly the
And
scene that
it's
you're talking
but
about.
that's not that doesn't. I'm not one of those people who is taken out of the movie because that happens.
Right.
I'm here for the story, and if the visuals add to it, a little bit of a wobble isn't gonna break.
Especially when you're talking about something that doesn't actually exist in real life.
Right,
It's
right.
easier for me to suspend, disbelief when my brain knows that thing doesn't exist, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
if something weird kind of happens, yeah, like you said, it doesn't take me out. I
yeah,
just,
yeah.
yeah,
But it looks so pretty. The dreadnought is imposing and beautiful, and the cannons and just the way they use the cannons to just decimate planets. When they go after Leviticus and his planet, who is essentially Switzerland,
yeah,
they give aid and help to everyone. When they get taken out, they show the cannons of the dreadnought. You're just now you have that dread for when they go back to Velt and go
right,
after the village.
yeah,
Um, uh, the ending of this is a part one of two. This is one big story. They allowed him to do the Quentin Kill Builds thing where you spend your time telling the story. We have a good final fight at the dock.
yep,
But this is ultimately the baby fight to the big fight, which we saw in the trailer right after the movie got done. Of them actually having the fight in the village. It's
right,
not a big galactic seven battles on seven planets kind of thing. This is one small group of villagers standing up against the
right,
oppressors.
yep. They had the whole Robin Hood arming the villagers uh,
Yeah,
scene,
yeah, yeah.
teaching them how to fight and shoot and
And I feel like we're gonna get more of Cora's background. They called her Atticus
scar giver. Oh yeah,
Scargiver. That was their nickname. But the
yeah.
Atticus something or whatever. Um, her backstory of being saved by Pavel, the general who was on the street and saving her and like killing her entire planet.
Raising
Very
her as his daughter.
Thanos and
Yeah,
Gamora kind
yeah,
of feel, whatever. But him at the end having the great intelligence conversation with Francis with Ed Sheeran's but uh he has to be the one who killed the king and the whole
yeah.
family,
That's what I'm thinking. Is
and he had her do it.
You think?
I think that's
I
yes.
think she saw him or knew it was him, and
Knew it was
that's when
him, and that's why
she
she ran. Yeah,
left.
yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. But I could go on for another half hour. Like I haven't even started talking about Ray Fisher. Like I'm gonna give me 2 seconds. He got in the ass by Warner Brothers.
Right.
Warner Brothers screwed him. He fought against it, and they blackballed him,
Right.
which is by far the worst thing that could have happened outside of what they did to Zack Snyder. Warner Brothers can suck it. Like I'm so done with them. But Zack loves him, and
Yeah.
so he got to come in and be this badass character, give one of the best speeches in the entire movie, go out like a boss, and he's in the trailer for the next one, so he gets to come
Right.
back. And a
Right.
great dreads, like
Yeah.
great dreads.
Yeah. I
But
love the paint on both him and his sister's foreheads. I was like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. There's some awesome cosplay that come out of this. Freaking, just some
Right.
awesome cosplay.
Right.
Cora's outfit with the kind of
It's like a peasant blouse, but like a
corset and leather
corset,
pants, and then that like cream-colored hood.
Yeah.
She keeps popping up.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm so ready. So we're ready. April 19th for part 2. Let's give it a score.
8.5.
8.5. So let us know what you thought of this movie and our reaction to it in the comments down below. It's a little longer than normal for a movie review. We had things to say. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It's free, and it helps us out. And like all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, links in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.